old fish, vomit, and eventually sweet burning rubber. So that's just taking you through the whole smell there.
That's like me after a big night out.
For a walk once, the Carolines went and we found a dead horse. And it was in a sort of a pit. And it was actually, I think it was a donkey. And this stench was unbelievable.
It is. It's very high, isn't it?
Is this a real thing, or is this an episode of John Vincent? Did you all start to think, we're in this windmill?
Obviously, we were filming Jonathan Creek and we were having a break between scenes and we stumbled upon our own mystery.
Yeah.
I think that was probably a real-life game of Buckaroo gone wrong. Not the real donkey. It was all fun and games till you put the chest on it. And then it snaps the spine, RSPCA code, we have to drag it into a pit. And then just as you cover it up, we fingers.
This looks like real life Buckaroo. That is a vulgar impression. I can't even do myself.
There are dead things that smell nice. Dead saints apparently smell beautiful. The odour of sanctity, which is known as osmogenesia. Apparently, saints smell of limbs. It's one of the ways you know they're saints. Padre Pio was a famous Italian priest who became a saint.
Who looks exactly the same as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
He does look just like anyone, doesn't he?
It's a tip for you, right? If you're ever at a holy shrine and there's a Padre Pio there, he's got the white hair, he's got the white beard, he's got the long brown robes,
Yeah.
and he stands like this. These are not the jobs you're looking for, love. Fortune, half the price of a Star Wars figure and Toys R Us. Give it to your kids.
Yeah.
See it for Christmas.
And smells of lilies.
Yeah.
Anyway, there you are. Now, who won the Battle of the Smellies?
I know something where you have to promise us smelly Turkish wrestling.
Oh yes, is that the point of
They
it?
make themselves smelly to be appalling to their opponent, so they don't wash for days. Maybe it isn't Turkish wrestling.
You're thinking of fencing, mate.
Are you thinking of Turkish delight?
Is it being on Sky Sports? Okay, so we're going to go to the 1950s. What happened in entertainment in the 1950s?
Television.
Television. So yeah, the cinemas were worried because television was becoming so huge, and they thought they needed a gimmick, and so they began to pipe smells into films. And there were two different systems. There was Smell-O-Vision, and there was Aroma-Rama. And they both released films within a couple of weeks of each other, and it became known as the Battle of the Smellies, and neither one of them was hugely successful. So Smell-O-Vision was delivered by a device which was called the Smell Brain. It was kept under the viewer's seat, but the technology was, let's call it, imperfect. So some aromas were delivered with a bit of a delay, so they didn't match the images, which was quite bad. Other smells made people nauseous, and the delivery mechanism apparently hissed really loudly, so that interfered with the situation. And then there was Aroma-Rama, and that used the cinema's air conditioning system to deliver the smells from above. Also very unpopular. There's a review in the New York Times in 1959, and it said that when this viewer emerged from the theatre, he happily filled his lungs with that fume-laden New York ozone, which never has smelled so good. And the American singer-songwriter Melanie, she released an album in 1972 called Garden in the City. It's got, you can see down here, a scratch and sniff label on the cover, and the instructions say, rub gently to release the magic. Melanie's Garden. You can I think we'll move on. Like all wars, the Battle of the Smellies resulted in no winners and only losers. Why is the second smelliest man in the world so frustrated?
Is he frustrated because everyone's like, well, you must be the smelliest person in the world, and he's like,
used to get up. The only time she ever left the room was if she'd farted. She'd be lying there by the sofa asleep, and I'd be watching Morse or something. And then she'd just get up and go in the hall, and then I'd immediately I'd have to pause Morse and get up and go. I would have to stand in the hall for a period of time until it would clear. Only the two of us in the flat.
Anyway, here's the thing. There's a Danish engineer called Professor Paul Farah, and he wants to create a new unit of measurement called an OLF, okay? So 1 OLF would be the emission of air pollutants given off by a standard person, and the idea is that any unpleasant smell could then be expressed by the number of people it would take to cause that level of unpleasantness. So if an average person is an OLF, and then say that your fart, wow, that's like 150 OLFs.
Oh, yeah.
That's even big.
That was a lot of OLFs.
That's a lot of OLFs.
My wife, her horses, our bedroom has got a window and the horses are out there and they fart so loudly that sometimes I have to turn the telly up. On a summer's evening, just lying in bed there, put the telly on, you just hear.
Was they're eating, or was it?
They have to or they die.
Particularly gassy horses.
Oh God, yeah, horses. They're shocking. I don't know how they can be trapped in that carriage. Buy a car.
Yeah.
That's why the hat's always in the junkyard.
Anyway, moving on. What do the UK's stink pipes do?
It sounds like a barbershop quartet.
Great title for a band. Yeah.
Now the stink pipes.
It's an actual thing. Indeed, you may have crossed one on the way to the studio. I think the nearest one to this studio is at Southwark Bridge.
So they're letting out odours from the sewers?
Absolutely right. Yes, you can have another sticker. You can have another sticker. Yes, you're absolutely right. They're sort of tall, hollow cast iron pipes. They stand quite 6 to 8 metres tall, and they're pipes to ventilate that potentially. Is it smelling?
Oh yes, that one has. Yes, that smells, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's a very strong smell.
Do they still work?
Yes, they still absolutely work, and they follow the routes of the main sewers, so lots of them are still in operation.
How cheap is that flat?
That's not nice, is it? You do have to update sewers because sewer explosions are not uncommon if they're not properly looked after and the gases are released and so on. So the River Fleet at King's Cross exploded in 1856, destroying a pub and 4 houses and smashed a Thames steamboat against Blackfriars Bridge.
Can we do anything with it? Yeah, some scientists managed to, like
With the sewage?
create power or something.
Well, the gas, they used to burn the gas off sometimes at the top of the stick pipes. In fact, in Sheffield, you can still see that. You can see some of the gas being burnt off. But whether they could actually power things would be fantastic.
I mean, they can use it's not animal feces, but very, very popular for making houses. Wattle and daub.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's fantastic stuff. And in the pioneer days in the United States, when they were heading west across Nevada and places like that, there was nothing to burn. They used to burn buffalo dung. So it was used to be known as buffalo chips. So there are uses, and perhaps we're just not being sensible
All
about
I'm
it.
saying is that we've got all this sewage that isn't being used. We've got a housing crisis.
I actually think they're rather beautiful, and this is the thing I love about the Victorians. They made things to be beautiful, even sort of rubbish things. So the interior of Crossness Sewer Pump Station, which is in Belvedere in Kent, there it is, look at that, is known as the Cathedral on the Marsh for its ornate design, and just breathtakingly beautiful. Listen, while we're speaking of beauty combined with bowels, who hasn't started a conversation like that on a hot day? I just want to show you something, which is one of my favourite buildings, and it is called the Wunton, and it is a 17th century tower in Copenhagen. It's breathtakingly beautiful inside. It's one of the world's first observatories. There's the inside, it's that stunning, and it was designed so that the king could ride his horse up so that he didn't have to walk up the stairs. But what is extraordinary about it is there's a toilet at the top, which consists of a seat and a shaft straight down to the bottom, and there was no way of emptying it, so it just filled up. It's one of the world's largest and earliest septic tanks. I mean, today it's got a glass plate over it so you can't smell anything. But it was point zero, used by the famous Danish astronomer Thomas Bugge in the 1760s as the starting point for his calculations for the measuring of Denmark. So he started the whole of the measuring and mapping of Denmark from that toilet seat.
I have a lot of my best ideas while I'm taking a number 2. I can only imagine one day I'll be like, Denmark.
That's if you go, it's really beautiful. And at the very top is a kissing bench designed for couples.
How close to the toilets?
Whose social media is little more than an odious pile of crap?
Is that a trick question? Because isn't it everyone's?